There was a good segue, but I lost my train of thought into the conflict. Speaking of that, was it the judges, Robert? The judges doing fishy things. So this article made the rounds. Everyone was sending it to me. The thing is, like, it's just not surprising anymore. It's not surprising, and there might be a little nuance to the issue. Allegedly, I think it was 131 judges. I don't know what levels, if they were federal or state judges, but allegedly 131 judges in the states were conflicted in something like 630 cases in which they were judged because they had a financial interest in one of the parties. And in most cases, I believe it was by holding direct stock in the company. Either they or their family holding direct stock in the company that was one of the parties to the suit. And it's an amount, I think $15,001 seems to be the threshold. I don't know what the rules are in the States. And in some cases, upwards of $50,000 in stock in a company. So the idea is, obviously, judges are supposed to be impartial. They're supposed to have the appearance and actually be impartial. And you cannot have a financial interest in a party to a suit in which you are a judge. It's just a basic conflict of interest 101. They're supposed to recuse themselves. The idea is here that they didn't recuse themselves. Why they didn't, whether or not it was their staff not doing a due diligence, whether or not it was misspelling the name as they ran it through conflict. There has been confirmation that a number of judges in a lot of cases were adjudicating where they had a conflict of interest. The spin from the media is that this represents 600 cases in the million cases that are filed in the States in a year. Not a million, but whatever. It's a fraction of a percent. It's egregious. It's over the top. Robert, how does it happen? Is it oversight? Is it procedural? Is it reckless? And what do you make of the report?
Well, if Mel Brooks does a sequel to History of the World Part 1, where he talks about it's good to be the king, I think they'll have to go back and forth between it's good to be the judge to it's good to be a Federal Reserve banker, because both of them got caught this week. Over 100 federal judges got caught in many, many cases with ruling on cases that the rules are designed that they're automatically supposed to disqualify themselves from ruling on. And so the one perspective is the amount of money is pretty small. The judges might not have even been aware of it, so on and so forth. The bigger problem is this is the easiest place to catch. We're not going to catch a lot of other places where there's big conflicts, where the assets are hidden or the money's not known about or the interest isn't fully apprised of any party of. Here, this was supposed to be easy to catch. The judges put in what stocks they have. Any party that files suit lists what the interested parties are. Sometimes, if you ever see a case or a complaint form or appeals case, you'll often see this notice of interested parties. It's a listing of all the relevant stocks at issue. And so, given the combination of their disclosure requirements and these disclosure requirements in order to bring a case before a judge, this is supposed to be caught right away and easily disqualified. So to me, the concern wasn't that in these particular cases it may have had a major impact. It was that if even this very easy to catch conflict of interest isn't being caught on a regular basis, to where hundreds of judges in hundreds of cases have an obvious, easily documented conflict of interest, compelling disqualification as a matter of law, then Lord knows what's happening in cases where there's real conflicts. So, like, for example, I've had IRS cases and federal judges, it turned out, had a conflict with the IRS at the time of my case, which meant they could curry favor with the IRS by ruling against my client. And they hid that information throughout the case. That's the kind of thing that's not publicly disclosed generally. You only found out because they put a lien on the federal judge. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second. So it's deeply unsettling that this is happening at such a systematic level. And it's the argument I've always made about the judiciary. The judiciary is the only branch of government that is the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary when it comes to the judiciary. So they write their own rules to decide how they're governed. They have their own enforcement mechanisms to see who enforces those rules, and they adjudicate their own enforcement of their own rules. We have tripartite method of government for a reason. We should not have the judiciary self-governing, self-regulating, self-disciplining. Breyer has been pushing that argument. Wants that to happen, and every time Congress tries to push something, he promises, "Don't worry, no, we'll take care of it." The court system has completely failed at it. They're not competent and capable to do so. One remedy would be to allow for an automatic right, like some state courts do, automatic right of disqualification for at least the first judge assigned to your case, or at least one time, maybe even twice, because that would allow litigants who know the bad judges to get rid of the bad judges. And if you get disqualified too often, then that should be signed for a review as to what's happening with your course of conduct.
What's it called when you get a peremptory strike on a jury member? You get a peremptory strike on a judge.
Exactly. In fact, that's what it's called in some jurisdictions like California. We should have that in the federal system. Absolutely. But it shows issues, but it's a good transition to the other major institution that got caught this week. Two major Federal Reserve bankers, turns out, were trading right on the eve of Fed Chairman Powell's pandemic announcement last year about how the Fed was going to treat the pandemic. And so, shock, they trade almost as well as Nancy Pelosi, who, if Nancy Pelosi was a hedge fund, she would be the most successful hedge fund in recent history. But that's because members of Congress, like Federal Reserve bankers, don't have any rules that strictly prohibit insider trading on their information.
Someone in the chat's going to know, Robert, if you don't know offhand, who were the two politicians last year, or it's 2 years ago now, when the pandemic hit, who were caught having sold their stocks before Congress made the announcement?
They're both, I think both are no longer in the Senate, Bill Burr and Kelly Loeffler. Okay. David Perdue was also, the real reason both of those Republicans lost their Senate bid is because both of them refused to stop insider trading. They said they were going to keep doing it. They blamed Trump and everything else. That was the number one issue in political advertising in Georgia during the recall election, or the recount, whatever it's called, the second election. So it's amazing. But there's somebody who set up a Twitter account just pretending to be Nancy Pelosi's trading advice. And it just goes through, that how amazingly successful our insider trading deals are. But this is two Federal Reserve bankers, and Powell said, he's really concerned about it. By the way, my FOIA request for all this audit information is currently pending before the George Gammon FOIA litigation we're bringing is currently pending before the Federal Reserve. And this is the second time, coincidentally or otherwise, first time we announced the litigation, all of a sudden they changed the FOIA rules 2 weeks later for the first time in 6 years. And it's the second time, our FOIA request circulating up there. All of a sudden, some bankers are like, we got to get out of here. Maybe we did some insider trading. We seriously and sincerely apologize for that.
How much was it, Barr and Loeffler? The thing is this: there's not an amount of money that can buy your integrity. But how much did they do it for? It was tens of thousands of dollars. It's how much?
Yes, sometimes tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. It was like Martha Stewart's case, which really wasn't a true insider trading cases. They love the idea that they're just getting a little, that they get to play Gordon Gekko for a day. That's for those from the movie Wall Street, for those that don't know the character.
Yeah, everyone here, Nancy is drunk. Well, she's drunk. A lot of people are making that connection in the chat.
She's drunk anyway. She's she's drunk more often than Rudy Giuliani.
Well, with Giuliani, I thought you meant Kool-Aid by what you showed in the glass and not alcohol.
Oh no, Rudy just drinks and drinks and drinks. God bless him, but he's usually 3 bourbons in by noon.
I know nothing of this, Robert.
But you shouldn't have stolen my stuff, Rudy. Sorry, got to take a few. Got to pay you back a little bit.
Oh wow,
I didn't know that until that recent tell-all books came out.
It's amazing. Like I now have an insight into the actual. The dog seems to be coughing behind me. I have an insight into a world that I would have never otherwise had access to. So the bankers now, what do? They've resigned from what someone said?
They're like, we're out of here. And Powell said, we're going to take a real deep look and make sure we have a little bit better ethics rules going forward. The reason why these guys are Federal Reserve bankers isn't just the power; it's the extra little on the side.
It's terrible. I don't know how much money could make it worth it. I don't think there's enough money that could ever make it worth it to live with yourselves afterwards. But hey, look, and at the end of the day, you get caught. And you have to walk among your brethren again. And I don't know how some of these people can ever do it. You get caught for 10, 15, even if it's $1 million. You have to go walk among your brethren, and you're not going to be able to do it because you stabbed them in the back so that you could make a little extra money because of your extra access to stuff.